What's broken now? Well, if you own a 240, get used to replacing just about everything. Well, before I start this video, I just want to give a quick shout out to another YouTube channel that I follow, Shermie's240. He actually had a giveaway a couple weeks ago that I ended up commenting on and actually won, which is really awesome. It's an SR20 grounding kit. Obviously I haven't installed it yet, but thought it was pretty awesome. Yeah, I'll put his channel on the description of this video. Well, it's back on jack stands, so that's not good. So long story short, when I first started driving this, I noticed a little vibration at about 3,000 or 4,000 RPM. Didn't really think much of it, but the more I started driving it, the worse the vibration got, and it just got to the point where I couldn't drive the car past about 3,000 RPM. It was just shaking like crazy. What it ended up being is this center carrier bearing is just completely shot. I mean, you can just see the material is just, I mean, it's basically just rotted away. So I'm gonna get started on getting this replaced. As you can see, the drive shaft is out of the car. And once I started trying to loosen these nuts, I realized that it would have been a lot easier if I would have left the drive shaft attached and broke these free first before removing it. But I've kind of figured out a way to loosen them just on the ground here. It was kind of a pain in the ass to get these nuts loosened, but I let them soak for a day or two with some PB Blaster. This stuff works awesome if you've never used it. And if you've got a wrench with kind of, you know, the material needs to be pretty thin. You can see the clearance is really, really tight here. So really the only thing I can get in here were these wrenches and, you know, a couple whacks of a hammer, and they came off pretty easy. That's what it looks like when it's separated. .27mm and an impact gun. That does the trick. Okay, now it's time just to put everything back together. Again, this is the replacement carrier bearing. This isn't the OEM Nissan carrier bearing. Those were about $130. I just went with an aftermarket one from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. This should be comparable to the Nissan piece, and if for some reason it fails prematurely, I'll probably just go ahead and get a single one-piece drive shaft. I can't reuse the old bolt. I don't know if you can tell, but I really screwed the threads up getting it off with an impact gun, but I don't think you're supposed to reuse these anyway. The kit does come with replacement hardware, 2 pieces versus 1, but I think it'll probably do the job. Like I mentioned, when I first took this off with an impact gun, I got a little crazy, and I kind of screwed up the threads on the shaft itself. So what I had to do to correct that is to just get a file and just clean up all the individual threads. Little by little, I was able to get the bolt to fit back on there. So I've got all the pieces kind of assembled back together. I don't have access to a press, so what I'm going to try to do is just use a ratchet and see if I can slowly tighten the bearing back onto the shaft. So I'll just throw it on a vise and see what happens. The aftermarket bolt is also a 24. Well, there it is. It's all back together. I did hit it a couple times with the impact wrench just to make sure. I'm not sure what the exact torque specs are for this nut. but I'll make sure to put it in the video. But I'm fine with just hitting it with the impact gun, and everything looks like it fits really well. So all I have left to do now is to just connect these two pieces back together and get it back on the car. Alright, the drive shaft is back in the car. Let's see if the vibration is gone. Alright, well, the test drive went okay. There still is just a little bit of vibration. Nowhere near as much as I had to start with, but when I get back under there and just double check that everything is tightened correctly, it's just a little vibration. Nothing crazy, but next thing I need to do is get this interior back together a little bit, and I'm going to start working on the suspension and the wheels.